Now a message for the rest of you, and I hope you will indulge me for a few minutes this morning, because I'd like to begin by sharing a little bit of what's happening in my personal life. It's good for my self-esteem, right? As some of you know, we haven't been in church a whole lot lately. Well, first of all, let me go back to this past fall. Some of you do know that I was asked and invited to be a pastor down in Albany. Pastor Laura O'Brien asked me to be her sabbatical interim for 2 months. So I was preaching at her leading worship in Albany at the Lutheran church there for September and October. And I led an adult class between the two worship services. So I had a very busy and good time in Albany. I enjoyed meeting the members there, getting to know them. It was hard to remember names. Any of you have that problem? Week after week, I'd see these people in worship and try and remember the names, and then I'd go in during the week and sit in the office and study the directory and try and memorize the names. I really had a wonderful time at the church in Albany, Good Shepherd, but between you and me, don't let this get back to Albany, I missed being here. I did. I missed sitting in the pew with Carmen. I missed singing with the choir. Just being with the Immanuel family means a lot. Well, Carmen was struggling with some issues this fall with her back. She's had some lower back pain. She waited until November 1st, till I was done in Albany, to have her back surgery. So the surgeon went in there, scraped out some arthritic stuff on her spine and said, "This should take care of your pain." So November, she still had pain. December, she still had back pain. 2 months, you go in and talk to the doctor. The doctor says, "Well, how's it going?" She said, "I still hurt. I still hurt every time I get up or move or walk." The doctor says, "Gosh, I scraped everything out. It should be open. The nerve should be fine. Let's try an injection to calm that nerve down. Maybe that'll help." So last Tuesday, Carmen had her spinal injection, and it seems to be working. Since Tuesday, she hasn't had any back pain. Yay! In December, while she was still hurting, I came down with a horrible sinus infection. I went to the doctor, got my antibiotics, I felt a little bit better, came to church here one Sunday in January, and then I got the cold back again, and my lungs were congested, and I couldn't sing with the choir, and I didn't feel like scissor cutting, and I didn't feel like reading, I didn't feel like writing, I didn't feel like doing anything. I was really miserable. So then I said to Pastor Leah, "Okay, I think I'll be well enough by this Sunday to lead worship and to do a sermon. If I sniff a little, it's just allergies." Okay, so I'm preparing for the sermon, and it's the Beatitudes. Oh, I've heard the Beatitudes lots of times. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Wow. Lord, that's me. For the last 3 or 4 months, I have been really poor in spirit. Now, the Gospel of Luke, which we read last year, says, "Blessed are the poor." We all know what poor is. No money, broke, no food maybe, no water. The poor countries, the poor people of our cities. Poor means poor, having nothing. But poor in spirit is the way it's worded in Matthew's gospel. So this morning, I want to focus on poor in spirit. God has a special way of blessing the poor and wants us to be a part of that blessing to those in need. What does Jesus mean by poor in spirit? Well, the first thing I was thinking as I prepared my sermon was, what's the opposite? What's rich in spirit? Rich in spirit to me means lively, full of life, vivacious, energetic, a love for life. All of a sudden, I started thinking of my wife when I first met her. The last few months, she hasn't been so full of spirit, neither have I. But things like energetic, excited about doing things, eager to meet people, make new friends, exuberant. That's a good word too, isn't it? A lively spirit, exuberant, fun, all ways of saying rich in spirit. Now the opposite, poor in spirit, those who are grumpy, who aren't happy about their life, those who are mad at the world, have a chip on their shoulder, or as I've been lately, just plain depressed. All ways of saying poor in spirit. Now the first thing I want to ask Jesus is, are you crazy? Surely the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, belongs to the vibrant people, not those who are down in the dumps, not the depressed. That other blessing. There's another one, for the meek. The meek shall inherit the earth. Oh, come on, Lord. It's the rich and powerful. It's the energetic. It's the go-getters that inherit the earth. It's the upfront leaders, those at the top of the ladder, who get all the good stuff. We who are meek sit here in church on Sunday morning and we're maybe thankful for what little we have. Or we sit in our chair at home and give thanks that we have a home, have a family. We try to be thankful, hoping that even these things and our health won't be stripped away. So what do you mean, Lord, that it's the meek who inherit the earth? Let me get very personal again. These past few months, I've been struggling with this whole idea of blessing. Not only who are the poor in spirit, but who is it, Lord, that gets blessed? As my health and energy waned, I did a lot of praying this last month or two. Praying for myself, praying for Carmen. And while I did that, I became more and more aware of other people in need. I began to think of all the people who needed my prayers, your prayers, who needed to pray. People who are experiencing difficult circumstances, the loss of a loved one, loss of health. I've been praying for my cousin in California who's been in a coma since November 15th. In a coma since November 15th. I've been praying for those who have lost a sense of purpose. I was reminded again how dependent my life is on God and on others. Being poor in spirit, I could care less about having wealth, power. All I wanted was health, not wealth, health and energy. I longed again to have a vital spirit. One of the things I saw a lot this last month was snow. I was up in Portland the night of that really big, like 5 inches of snow fell on the Portland area. I was up there, went to a movie with my sons. When we came out of the theater, there was 3 inches of snow blanketing the city of Portland. I called Carmen. I said, I'm not coming home tonight. I'm going to sleep on the sofa at my son's. So then the next morning, which was a Wednesday morning, we were checking the weather, checking the traffic reports, checking the roads. I called Carmen. I said, okay, it's 11 o'clock. I'm going to make it back to Silverton. So I drove very carefully through some very snowy streets from Tigard, got onto I-5, and once I got past Wilsonville, an inch or two, it was a piece of cake. No problem at all here in Silverton. One of the things that that snow did to me was to make me think about what is it that I can and can't do. Well, I didn't feel like shoveling, I'll tell you that. But as I sat there in the house, I was thinking about how beautiful that snow was on my trees and lawn. And how, especially when the sun came out, how it sparkled like diamonds. You know, what's the point of one diamond with lots of light shining on it to make it sparkle when you can have a world of diamonds all sparkling right outside your window? It was gorgeous. It was magnificent. And I looked at the snow in a different way. For months, I grimaced every time Carmen got out of her chair because I could see the pain in her face. And I thought, oh, God, I don't even want to look at her. And then suddenly I remembered who she was. That vibrant, laughing, full of life person. I remembered the young woman I married so many years ago, and how that vitality and that sparkle is still there. I saw her in a different way, an old way, a new way. Being down, I looked at everything through different eyes and became so thankful for every little thing. The little things started mattering more. I didn't feel like scissor cutting. I didn't feel like writing. I didn't feel like going anywhere. All I cared about was what was happening to my health and my loved ones. Blessed are the poor in spirit, those who recognize their need for God and His grace. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Heaven is not just a place that we'll all go someday where everything will be fine. It's the here and now that is a foretaste of that perfect place to come, where loving and caring is what matters most. It is the blessing of love and appreciation which comes when you're poor in spirit. Heaven is wherever you are loved and cared for, and give that love in return. Blessed are the meek, said Jesus. If you've only got one like on your Facebook, that's fine. For they will inherit the earth. As I thought about that little blessing, I thought, it's not about controlling the earth or owning the earth or ruling the earth. It's about inheriting the earth. All of these blessings, the snow, the sun, the trees, they're all here for you and me as a blessing, as a gift. That's what it means to inherit the earth. As I walked through the neighborhood a day or two ago, I paid a particular attention to this Douglas fir in our neighbor's yard. It's got a diameter of like 8 feet around, huge. And I thought, that isn't my neighbor's tree. It belongs to all of us. It's God's tree, and it's here for us to enjoy. And I looked up, and those branches, those upper branches, are so magnificent. And there were birds up there. It wasn't just that 10 feet of big trunk that I normally look at, or that my neighbor thinks of that tree outside the window. But when you step back a little bit, that magnificent beauty was there for me to enjoy. The whole earth is yours. You don't own it. You don't rule it. You don't control it. But God has given it to you for pleasure and enrichment and asked you to care for it. So realizing that makes me pretty humble, keeps me meek. I can't brag, I can't boast, I can't control, but by God, I can appreciate. So can you. Even the smallest things, even when I'm feeling poor in spirit, there are so many things I can be thankful for. I'm thankful for all of you, beautiful congregation. I thank you for accompanying me this morning on a portion of my journey to understand these paradoxical blessings. God's blessings for those whom the world often pities or despises. And finally, I pray that you are able to see yourself among the poor in spirit, among those who mourn, because I know many of you are mourning, among the meek, the merciful, the pure in heart, and the peacemakers. And I pray that you will be blessed as I have been blessed. Amen.
Well, it's like mine.